The biggest problem in business today is what I want to talk about. It's not the economy, it's not cash flow, it's not customers, it's not employees, it's not supply chain, taxes, or the government. When I talk to my clients and when I look at some of the research that came out of the 2019 CEO benchmarking study, the biggest weakness that leaders feel in themselves and consistently the biggest challenge is one word, and it's accountability. For me, accountability is the glue that holds our business together. You know, we can have a vision and a mission that's exciting. We can have a really solid business plan. But if we don't have accountability, none of that takes place the way that we want it to. When I talk to people about accountability, because it often comes up in conversations, and I think the reason why people find it such a struggle is that they think about the accountability conversation and they feel intimidated and challenged by the thought of having a one-on-one with an employee, talking about how they think they're underperforming, trying to get them to try harder or to do more, and it can't help but feel a personal conversation where we're being critical of who they are as opposed to what they do. And this is something that challenged me for a long time in business until I realised that I had it all wrong. And the reason I had it wrong was, like you, I was focused on the conversation instead of thinking about how am I setting this person up for success. So one of the ways in which we set people up for success is being really clear on what our expectations are. And studies show that most businesses, 90% and more, aren't good at setting clear expectations for performance. And we can set expectations for performance around 5 main areas. They are what I call QCTMS. Q stands for quality, like how good is the outcome that I'm expecting from you. C is cost. You know, what's it going to cost us? What's it going to cost the business to make this happen? T relates to time. How long is it going to take? You know, I need to have this work done by the end of close of business today or by the end of the week. What about morale and motivation? How are we setting expectations for our leaders and managers to run their teams and lead their teams? Do we have a focus on engagement and motivation? Because that's an important lever. Another expectation we need to set is around safety. So by setting these expectations, we're creating a benchmark and also clarity for how we want our people to perform. So when it comes to the performance conversation, it's really about exploring the gap between the expectation that we've set and the level of performance that that person is providing. And it's really important that we do this on a regular basis. You know, I hear about bi-monthly, biannual and annual performance reviews. Like, that's ridiculous. Can you imagine a football team going out to play and the coach waits until the end of the season before he gives feedback on performance? It doesn't make sense. And it doesn't make sense when we do that in our business either. People need feedback on how well they're performing. And if they're performing well, we give them positive feedback, which encourages them to keep going and working harder. When there's a gap in performance, we need to explore that gap and have a conversation with that person about why there is a gap. And let's work together to fix the problem, to help them close that gap. That's leadership and great management in my mind. It's when we lean into the problem and explore it with them and find out which one of the 5 causes of underperformance, which you can read about in another video, is the issue behind the underperformance that we're encountering. So to think that we can have a meaningful accountability conversation when we haven't set clear expectations in the first place is crazy. We just can't do it. When we think about expectations, we can actually take it another level higher. And that's by, when we set expectations, we want it to be part of a meaningful plan that the person we're setting expectations for understands. So they understand the context of what we're trying to achieve and what they're hoping to achieve. So they can see how they contribute to the business as part of a bigger picture. So in order to get accountability, the first step is actually to have a clear plan about what the business is trying to create. And once we've created the plan, we need to communicate that plan. And in communicating that plan, part of it is setting expectations, and we do this by creating targets. Now, I don't care whether you call a target a KPI or an OKR, it doesn't really matter, just so as long as we have something in place that people know what they're striving for. both as a department head, but also the people within that team that understand what the business is trying to achieve. And finally, that translates down into individual performance. And we need a combination of leading indicators for performance that measures their activity, but also lagging indicators so that they can see what they're aiming for at the end of the day. When we have a clear plan, set great expectations, people know what's required to perform, and the whole accountability conversation becomes simpler. And it's not only it's not a confronting situation, it's actually an opportunity to help that person perform better, and it becomes highly motivational when it's done well.